your home isn't selling right now, it's almost never the market, but it is mostly strategy. And I know that it may sound a little direct, but it's true because even in this market, homes are still selling every single day. The difference is the homes that are selling have the right price, the right presentation, and they have the right marketing behind them. And the ones that are sitting usually missed one of those three things. And a lot of sellers don't realize it. It's until it's already too late. The home sits, showings slow down, price cuts start happening, and eventually buyers will start wondering if something is wrong with the house. And that's where sellers really get stuck. Because once a listing starts to feel stale, it becomes a lot harder to create momentum again. The problem is a lot of homeowners are still trying to sell like it's 2021 or 2022. Back then, you could put almost anything on the market and get some activity, but that particular market is gone. And today's buyers are more cautious, more informed, and a lot more selective. So if you're thinking about selling this year or your home is already sitting on the market, this video is going to help you understand what's really going on. Hi, I'm Dee, your local Dallas real estate expert, and I help Dallas homeowners sell, buy, and relocate to the DFW area. And today I'm breaking down the real reason homes don't sell, and more importantly, how to fix it before your listing goes stale. So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to getting your home sold is that the market has changed. So here's the thing, sellers need to understand that the market has changed, but a lot of the sellers' expectations didn't. For a few years, homes basically sold themselves. You could overprice the house, skip the prep work, take average photos, and still get multiple offers in a weekend. And that is not a market that we are in anymore. Today's buyers are way more cautious because monthly payments matter more now. Interest rates change the buyer's behavior, and people are not just looking at the price of the home anymore. They are looking at the payment, the taxes, the insurance, the condition, the repairs, and what is going to cost them after closing. So buyers are analyzing everything more carefully, as they should. And if you think about it, if you were in the buyer in the market, you would do the exact same thing. They're comparing more homes, they're asking more questions, and they negotiate a little bit harder. And they move on fast when something does not feel right or add value. In the old market, buyers were scared of losing the house. Now buyers are actually more scared of overpaying, and that's the shift. And when buyers have more options, they do not have to force themselves to make a decision. If your home does not feel like the best value in its price range, then they will move on to the next one. This does not mean that your home is bad. It also doesn't mean that your home won't sell. It just may take a little bit longer. It does not mean that buyers are impossible. It just means that your strategy has to match the market that we are in right now. And I feel like that's a mantra that I'm telling my clients all the time. If you are going to enter the market as a buyer or the seller, you have to do so at the market of that time and not the market of yesteryear. Overpricing really does destroy your momentum. The number one mistake I see sellers make is overpricing from day one. And I understand why people do this. Most sellers want to leave a little room for negotiation. They want to test the market. They look at what their neighbors sold for 2 years ago, and they think that the home should sell for the same amount or more. They check the online estimates and they assume that that number is accurate. And sometimes they are also emotionally attached to the home, which makes it even harder to look at the price objectively. But here's the truth. The market does not care about what your neighbor sold for in 2021. The market does not care what you need to walk away with or even what the online estimates say. The market only cares about what buyers are willing to pay for right now. That's it. The most important window for your listing is in the first 2 weeks. That first 14 days is very key, and it's a telltale sign to know if you have your home priced correctly. That is when your home will get the most attention. That is when serious buyers are watching. That is when online traffic is usually the highest, and that is when your listing feels fresh. And if you come out overpriced during that window, you can lose momentum pretty fast. Buyers will skip over it, slowings will show down, and agents will stop pushing. And of course, your activities will drop. And so the price reductions start from here, typically, if you are open to that. But here's the problem with price cuts. Buyers do not always see the price cut reductions as a deal. A lot of times they see them as a warning sign, and they'll start asking questions like, why hasn't it sold yet? What's wrong with the house? And is the seller unrealistic? Will there be any inspection issues? And can we get it even cheaper than what they've reduced it to? That is how a listing starts to feel stale. And once a home feels stale, the seller's leverage starts to go down. I have seen sellers price too high, chase the market down for months, and end up selling for less than they probably would have gotten if they would have just priced the home correctly to begin with. And this is why pricing is really just not about a number. It really is about a strategy. You want to make sure the right price really does create urgency. The wrong sales price will create a little silence. I tell my clients all the time when I'm doing listing consultations that I am going to give you the data for what I believe your home will sell for right now in this current market, according to previous home sales in your neighborhood, as well as homes that are similar to yours, what we call a comp analysis. You as the seller get to decide what we're going to go to the market with and list your house for, but ultimately the buyer decides the price of the home. So the second reason that homes do not sell is presentation. And presentation and the condition of your home is really, really important. And one of the data points that's really key is that new listings that have hit the market from year over year, from 2025 to 2026, has increased by 10% in DFW. So the buyers have a lot to choose from. And so the condition and the presentation of your home matters way more than sellers actually realize, because buyers now are seeing your home for the first time when they walk throughout the front door. They are seeing it online first, of course. They're scrolling through your photos and through their phone, and they're comparing your home against every other home in their price range. And they are making decisions very fast. If the photos look dark, cluttered, outdated, or low quality, a lot of buyers will never schedule a showing. They will just move on. And here is the part that sometimes sellers do not want to hear. Buyers do judge the way a home is presented. If the photos look crazy, buyers assume that the maintenance has not been taken care of. If the home looks a little cluttered, buyers assume that it's smaller than what it really is. And if the landscaping looks neglected, buyers assume that the inside may be neglected too. And that may not always be fair, and it also may not be true, but it is how some buyers think. Presentation creates perceived value, and perceived value affects your offers. That is why small things can make a really big difference. So things like fresh paint, better lighting, decluttering, cleaning the windows, touching up landscaping, fixing minor issues, removing your personal items, and staging some of the key rooms. These things do not always cost a fortune, but they can completely change how a buyer feels when not only they're looking at your home online, but when also they walk it for the first time. And in today's market, feelings matter. Buyers want to feel confident. They want to feel like the home has been cared for. They want to feel like they can move in without immediately taking on a long list of problems. And a lot of sellers say, well, buyers can look past that. Most buyers don't want that. Or I wanted to let the buyers decide what they wanted to do that. But let's be clear, most buyers won't, especially when they have other options. If one house feels clean, bright, and move-in ready, and another house feels like work, the buyers will usually choose the easier option, especially when interest rates are where they are. It can sometimes decrease a buyer's purchasing power, so they must prefer to buy a home that is easier to move in, even if it costs more. That is why preparation matters before the home ever hits the market. And this is exactly why I always tell my sellers, do not wait until your home is sitting to figure out the strategy. Get the strategy first, because once a listing goes stale, fixing it becomes a lot harder. If you are thinking about selling in DFW this year, reach out to me directly. You can utilize the contact information that is on your screen, or you can click on the link that is in my description box. I have a seller guide that is available just for you to really give you some of the strategies that I'm talking about in this video if you feel like selling your home this year or next year is for you. I will help you understand what buyers are responding to right now, what is causing homes to sit, and what I've found personally to position your home the right way to start with. No pressure, just a real conversation about what makes the most sense for your situation. All right, so another topic that's really important is that weak marketing is going to cost you as a seller. Another major reason why homes are sitting is because of weak marketing. And that is where a lot of sellers get frustrated, because they assume that every agent markets their home the same way. And I have news for you, they don't. Putting your home on an MLS is not a marketing plan. That is the starting point. Today's buyers are everywhere. They are on Zillow, they are on Realtor.com, they are on Instagram, they are on YouTube, and nowadays they are also on ChatGPT. And so they are watching short form videos, they are getting emails from agents, and they are seeing homes before they ever even decide to schedule a showing. So if your home only exists on the MLS with average photos and a basic description, you are leaving a lot of exposure on the table, and exposure really matters. Again, we talked about the increase in inventory. Because visibility creates competition, competition creates urgency, and urgency creates leverage. The homes that perform well today usually have have strong marketing behind them. They have professional photography, professional videos done, strong listing copy and captions, very good social media exposure and email campaigns, as well as agent-to-agent network and collaboration. I cannot express how important it is for agents to have another network of other agents to get homes sold. Also, targeted advertising is really important, as well as a clear story about why the home is so special. And the last part really matters. Marketing is not just showing that a home exists. Marketing is helping buyers understand why they should care. What is the lifestyle? What makes the neighborhood attractive? What does the layout solve? And why is this home better than the one down the street? This is the kind of marketing that creates interest, because if buyers do not connect with the home online, they probably will not schedule a showing. And if they do not schedule a showing, they will never write an offer. A lot of listings are not sitting because the house is terrible. They are sitting because not enough right buyers are seeing it in the right way. And that is a marketing problem. So another reason homes are sitting is because sellers are ignoring what buyers expect in today's market. And I hear this all the time. Well, the next owner can update that. And technically it's true, but buyers today are looking at updates very differently because everything just feels a little bit more expensive. You know, the mortgage payment is higher, insurance is higher, property taxes are higher, moving costs more money, furniture costs more money, and so do repairs. So when buyers walk into a home and see old carpet, outdated paint, old fixtures, deferred maintenance, and repairs that need to happen, they start subtracting money in their head almost immediately. They are not just thinking, can we live with this? They are thinking, how much is this gonna cost us after closing? And if that number feels too high, they either don't make an offer, they move on, or they make you a lowball offer. And today's buyers want certainty. They want to know that the home's been maintained. They want to know the big things are in good shape and that they feel like they are not buying someone else's problem. When I am taking on a listing with a seller, I do focus on what we call the big five so that we know if there's any major issues that may come up with your roof, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, and or foundation. Those are the things that really cost buyers when they move into your home. So we typically like to make sure we explore those to make sure we don't have any issues that we want to potentially get ahead of. That does not mean every home has to feel remodeled. Of course, it doesn't have to look like a new flip, or it doesn't have to look like a builder's model home. And not every seller needs to do a full-on renovation before the listing, but the condition and the price have to match. That is where sellers get in trouble. If the home needs work, but it is priced like a fully updated home, buyers will push back and they will move on. If the home has older finishes, but the seller refuses to make concessions, buyers may move on. If the inspection reveals a long list of issues, the buyer may get nervous or ask for more money off. In today's market, buyers are paying close attention, so sellers have to be honest about the condition from the beginning. And sometimes the right move is to make the repairs before the listing. Sometimes the right move is to offer concessions. And sometimes the right move is to price the home according to its current conditions. And sometimes the option would be to sell your home off market. But ignoring buyer expectations is not a strategy. It usually just leads to fewer showings, weaker offers, and more time on the market. So one of the most painful things I see is sellers chasing the market downward. And it usually starts the same way. The home is listed too high, there's very little activity, and the seller waits a few weeks, and then they reduce the price, still not enough activity, then another reduction, then another. And this can be very frustrating for sellers. And I totally understand. I have to have conversations with my sellers all the time if this is the strategy that they decide to go with. And now the listing starts to look desperate. Buyers notice that, agents definitely notice that. And at every price reduction changes the way people view the property. Instead of thinking, this is a great home, buyers start to think, maybe we can get it even cheaper. That is the dangerous position for a seller, because every week the home sits, the seller loses a little bit more leverage. And behind the scene, the stress starts to build, and you're still making mortgage payments, still paying utilities, you're still keeping the house clean, still adjusting your schedule for showings, and you're still wondering why people are not writing offers. You're still trying to make plans without knowing when the home will sell. And this gets old very fast. Believe me, sellers get frustrated very, very quickly. And the frustrating part is that a lot of it could be avoided with better positioning from day one. The right price at the beginning usually gives you more leverage than months of price cuts. Because your home is fresh and priced correctly, buyers respond respond differently. They feel the urgency. They feel the competition. They might have agents like me who take them to a home and say, this one will probably not last long. Believe me, agents can tell that as soon as they walk into a home, how long a home has the potential of sitting on the market. Buyers will feel like they need to move before someone else does. That is the energy that you want around your listing. You do not want buyers wondering how long you will go. Fun fact, I sold a house in Frisco a couple years ago, and we saw the house when it was about, I want to say 60 days on market. And by the time we ended up putting in an offer, the seller had been on the market for 180 days. And by that time, we had seen the price drop about at least $100,000. No kidding. And when we went in to put our offer, you best believe it was even lower than that number as well. So again, pricing it right from the beginning is super important, because if buyers see that you're just sitting on the market, it kind of comes off as desperate, and you could either get lowball offers or offers that just really don't align with the pricing that should have been on the market to begin with. So you do not want buyers wondering how low you will go. You want buyers wondering if they can afford to wait. That is the difference. So what actually works in today's market? It really comes down to three things: strategic pricing, proper preparation, and strong marketing. First, pricing, not emotional pricing, not aspirational pricing, not let's see what happens pricing, strategic pricing using the data. And with that, I want to give you guys a little bit of data. This is a statistic that I utilize with my sellers just to give them a frame of reference of how much inventory has increased. And it's with a data point that we use called days on market. And just to give you a frame of reference, days on market in 2021 was an average of about 3 to 7 days. Actually, so as of April 2024, days on market in DFW was 52. And in April of 2025, days on market went to 62. And in April of 2026, days on market is at 63. So days on market for the last 3 years have done nothing but increase. So I cannot stress enough how much strategic pricing is super important. You want your home to feel like one of the best values in its category the moment it hits the market. And that does not always mean pricing low. It means pricing right. It means looking at the current competition, recent sales, buyer behavior, days on market, location, and what else buyers can choose from. Second, proper preparation is key. Before the home goes live, you want to remove any objections as possible that a buyer will have as soon as they walk into the house. That may mean decluttering. That may mean touching up paint. It may mean doing some minor repairs or even landscaping, as well as, of course, generally cleaning the home and staging. Staging is really key. Staged homes sell about 70% faster as unstaged homes, and they typically sell about 10 to 15% more than unstaged home as well. You also want to be mindful of lighting, and sometimes small changes create a really big difference in how buyers respond. You want buyers walking in thinking, this feels good, not that this needs a lot of work. And the third thing you want to keep in mind as a seller in this market is strong marketing. Your home needs to be presented in a way that gets attention. Professional photos matter, videos matter, online exposure matter, social media matters, and the story behind the home matters. The goal is not just to list the home, the goal is to create demand, because demand gives sellers leverage, and the leverage is what helps protect your price, negotiate better terms, and avoid sitting on the market for months. That is the difference between just putting a house up for sale and actually launching a listing plan. So if I were getting a home ready for sale right now, here is what I would focus on before it ever goes live. First, I would study the competition. Comp analysis is really important and key. Not just what sold the last 6 months, but what is also active right now and what is pending. The active listings, of course, are going to be your competition. So you want to make sure you know what those are priced at as well. What homes are buyers comparing yours to right now? That matters because buyers are not shopping in the past, they are shopping today. Second, I will look at the condition honestly, not emotionally. So I'm going to give you my honest opinion about the things that we need to do to get your home prepared for the market. Are any repairs that need to be handled? Do the rooms feel dark? Does the home feel dated? Does the landscaping hurt or help? And are there things that will show up on photos that will turn buyers off? The third thing is that I would create a pricing strategy before the listing goes live. Not after it sits, not after 3 quiet weekends, but before, because your first impression on the market matters. Fourth, I would make sure that the marketing is strong from day one. Photos, videos, copy, social media, agent reach out, and exposure all need to be ready before the home hits the market. You do not want to list first and figure out later. That is how home sellers lose momentum. The best listings are not accidental, they are planned. And in this market, planning matters more than ever. So if your home's not selling right now, do not automatically blame the market. Most of the time, it will come down to pricing. But you also want to make sure that you're paying attention to your presentation conditioning as well as your overall marketing. And the good news is that those are all fixable problems. If your home has already been sitting, do not panic. There is usually a strategy adjustment that can improve the situation. But the sooner you address it, the better, because the longer a listing sits, the harder it becomes to rebuild momentum. So I'm curious, how long has your home been on the market? If you currently have a home on the market, remember, average days in DFW right now is about 63. Are you thinking about selling your home soon? Drop your situation in the comments below. Tell me your area, your price point, and how long it's been listed, and I'll tell you what I would personally look at adjusting. And if you are thinking about selling this year or anytime in the future, you can contact me at the information that is on your screen directly, and we can talk about your overall goals and plans for getting your home sold so you can move on to your next chapter.